Right. Morning. Morning. 10 o'clock on the dot. Going to give people a couple more seconds, maybe a minute or so, just to log in. But then we'll get started. Hope you guys are feeling fresh this morning. Apparently Ben's feeling fresh, so thank you, thank you, Ben. Maybe Ben's the only one that's feeling fresh. But we'll see. Glad you guys are using the chat function already. That's good to see. There's a couple of other features on here, like the feeling good. Lewis is feeling good as well. Good to hear, Lewis. Got some. You got a question section there as well, so you can ask any questions all the way through. But we're 1 minute past, so I think we'll get going. Cat is excited because it's almost the weekend. Yes, you're my spirit animal, Cat. Excellent. Good stuff. Right, so let's get started. So morning, as I said already. Thanks for joining us today for this webinar. Whenever I do anything with Fresh Relevance, I always feel compelled to make the theme, centered around relevancy. And today is no exception, because we're talking about personalizing emails at scale, which is all about being more relevant. We're going to look at some simple steps that you can take and give your customers exactly what they want. So let's not mess around. Let's get straight into the agenda. And look at this. So first off, it will be myself. I'm going to run through 4 quick wins to personalize. And then James will take the concept a little bit further and run through personalizing with some great examples of doing that at scale. As I mentioned already, there's a question section within your panel. So all the way through, if you just want to throw your questions in there, we'll get to them towards the end, where we've got a section specifically for Q&A. So drop your questions in there and we will get round to them. So please do that. Right, I think that's about it. Apart from whether or not you guys are in your PJs or not. I know I do early morning presentations and some people are still in their PJs. If you are, let us know and I'll be supremely jealous because you're probably still in bed. But anyway, we'll get going. Right, so here it is. Prospect, personalize, propel. Quick wins to personalizing your email. So first off, I have to do this. Don't worry, this isn't the pitch of Dot Digital, but I just have to say that we partner with Fresh on a number of projects, and we are home to over 4,000 clients worldwide, helping them reach their goals faster with omni-channel marketing automation, because speed and ease of use are at the core of what we do. So yeah, we help our clients reach their goals. So part of that is personalization and relevancy. And this is what I'm here to talk to you about today. The modern day consumer is far more in tune with just how valuable they are to you and what you can offer them in terms of your marketing. So if you want to make an impact, you need to be more relevant. Personalization is key to that. In fact, 75% of marketers recognize that using personalization tactics in emails result in a higher click-through rate and a significant increase in ROI. So we're not seeing that with all brands. I think a lot of brands are still not getting that point across, and then aren't doing enough of it. So where we should probably start off is, what is personalization? Well, to answer that, we kind of say personalization or personalizing emails means leveraging your customer data to target specific groups of subscribers with your campaigns. And we can personalize with a number of things, things like first name, last name, date of birth, job title. I guess the list is endless, really. And we need to use those certain things. But mainly, personalization is sort of one of two things. It gives us timely and relevant content. A relevant email will help your marketing stand out in a cluttered inbox. By offering readers relevant content, your email has a better chance of making an impact. And then to them, the more impactful you are, the better you're going to have a conversion. So customers, contacting customers at the right stage of that customer journey is going to be imperative. We need to be able to do that. And a timely email full of personalized and relevant content will help you stand out in the crowd and in that crowded inbox, especially this year when we're seeing more and more mail being sent to people's inboxes. So I have got a couple of things to go through. As I said, 4 points. First off, we'll talk about data collection and customer preferences. Then we're going to go through segmentation. And then different types of personalization, because there are varied types that we can be using. And then finally, testing, which is very important. So let's kick this off. There are two main arguments marketers use to justify the lack of personalization. First is building personalized emails takes time, and time they don't have. And secondly, we don't have the data to provide personalized and relevant emails. Well, first off, personalization emails are hard to put together, right? Well, not really. As time poor marketers, we don't have the time to spare to create unique emails to every customer. But that shouldn't be the case. It might require a bit of planning up front, and they definitely do, from your basic campaigns, spray and pray. But the revenue potential is well worth it with personalizing. Plus the more marketing automation platforms you use, or the better marketing automation platforms you use, it makes this whole personalization a lot easier, and it's a lot better to do at scale, which is what we're talking about today. And then secondly, we don't have the data to provide. Well, a lot of marketers will argue they don't have sufficient data to personalize their campaigns. And in that case, it might be the same thing for a lot of people, but it's worthwhile investing in that data to get you to a place where you can personalize. 80% of customers are more likely to purchase from a brand who provides personalized experiences. Customers are happier to hand over their data if they receive personal and unique experiences. So be sure to maximize the touch points that you have with customers to get that data you need to provide a full makeup of your audience. That includes the point of subscription and your welcome program. Where can you get that data? As I said, it's all different touch points. It's literally anywhere. Online. On your page, it could be the top, middle, and bottom, which is what I usually talk about. If you can put top and bottom of the page data capture, then that's great. But middle of the page is a pop-up, and that's essential. It really does help you get the data you need. And offline, if we're still having these live events, that's what you would be doing, or slightly different channels as well, which is SMS. But we need to be collecting the data as soon as possible, or if not, then we can work into the mix data capture forms or preference centers. Now, this isn't the best preference center I've ever seen, but it helps us to go down the line a little bit and collect the data we need. Title may not be so useful anymore, but first name, last name, definitely. In this example here, we've got date of birth, so we can help to send out personalized birthday messages, which is great. Then shoe size. This is perfect because then you can personalize a message with the content or the stock that we've got available in that size. So that's perfect. But next up is this sort of space here, and it's not to say that we should be filling up the space, but it is to say there's more that we could be asking. Maybe the brand or something that I'm into. That could be another question to ask. So that's something to look into, which is what Home Depot have done here. They've asked for a little bit more information along the way, and that helps them to become more relevant and more personalized. So that's something we should look into. Another step is the post-purchase. If we ask questions in this phase, we start to understand exactly who these people are and how they're liking what we're sending out. Penny for your thoughts or Likert scales, and to see how likely you are going to be to recommend this to one of your friends or family or colleagues. That is something that we can use to help personalize down the line. So use these different stages to start collecting that information you need. Right, segmentation. It's key to personalizing. 51% of marketers consider email list segmentation to be the most effective tactic for effective email marketing. Now, segmentation is great, and I do say that we need to be doing that, breaking up our data into different pots. But you won't get far with segmentation alone. To get to that place, you need to be able to help personalize as well. So you quickly tailor your experiences to exactly what the customer's looking for. So these two things need to work together. People have so much choice nowadays, and that choice can be crippling. But having segments and personalization will help you to ease the pain that the customer has and give them more choices, or fewer choices, so they can make those decisions. One of the things you can do is start using that data in a little bit deeper way and start looking into things like RFM modeling, understanding exactly where people are in the journey with you, whether or not they need to be nurtured a bit more, or they need to be sort of left alone to their own devices. Using the recency, frequency, and monetary data will really help you to understand exactly where these people are and what is going to make the biggest impact with them. So personalization and segmentation are key to this, and RFM modeling can help you do that. Next up is what we're all here for, different types of personalization. So we've got three different types we should have in our arsenal: basic, intermediate, and advanced. So I kind of do that because not having personalization is shutting down a busy street just saying oi. It's not going to make that connection with people that you want to have. So we need to go a little bit deeper. So basic types of personalization, is where we all want to start. And a perfect place to start would be personalizing the content directly in the inbox as before we open email. So things like subject line. When an email lands in your inbox, the subject line is the first thing that people see. And you can see in this example here, we've got some personalized subject lines within the campaigns. And that is really going to help you sort of make an impact with people and get them to actually open the email in the first place. Another thing you'll see here as well is we've got these little icons next to the emails, and those are BIMI icons. BIMI is an email standard that allows you to have a logo appear next to your message, and it's a good way of building up your sender reputation, and it does help you sort of stand out in the inbox. So it's something that we can help our clients set up. So if you are a client of Dot Digital, then get in contact with your account managers and we can help you set that sort of thing up. But once we get into the inbox, then you want to start personalizing bits and pieces. And this is sort of basic first name sort of personalization. And we can see that in Keels. We can also see that in Monica Vivander example. But what they have over and above here is a personalized image with your initials. And that is subtle, but it really does help to bring the campaign to light. Next up is intermediate. Definitely where we want to be sort of moving into, having a little bit more of an impact with the examples we have, and using that segmented data to give us ideally what the customer's looking for. So some of these examples here are using your data to bring life to your campaigns, and this is brilliant. Using your data to populate the emails. The Fitbit and the Spotify examples are doing that, using all of the data we have on an individual to populate an email. I don't know if I want a Fitbit birthday message because it's telling me how many steps I have or haven't made on my birthday. I usually want to chill out on my birthday, but this is a great example of making sure this email is specifically for you. And these seem to be like a B2C examples, but you can do this in a B2B world as well. As long as you've got the data, you can populate these emails to make sure they're personalized and being hyper relevant to the individual. Ultimately, you can move through to this sort of thing, which is one of my favorite emails of all time. This one from EasyJet it should be all about EasyJet, but somehow it's all about the individual. Now, this looks like a really sort of advanced example, but all we're doing here is just taking the data that we have and populating certain areas. The favorite place we like to travel to, the last place we travel to, and the fact that we prefer to sit in the window seat. All of this here is just personalizing the campaign. Next up is advanced. And what we want to do here is we want to start changing the content that is received by individuals, the sort of thing that Fresh would allow you to do. Things like product recommendations and using different channels as well is also going to be really important. Using product recommendations, we can take things to the next level and make them hyper relevant. So examples like this from List and Feel Unique are great. We're adding in some personalization into the campaign, saying that we're running low because we know that you've just purchased this product and you've had it for a little while, so maybe you are running low. We've got some recommendations under that connected to the product that you've purchased, but we're also saying to make this ultra personalized is if we've got this wrong, tell us when we should be contacting you again to remind you to restock. So these are great examples of taking things to the next level. And you can use different channels as well to make content more personalized. And depending on where people are on a journey, they'll need to have these messages on different channels. So there's a number of different ways we can go through that. Hopefully I can sort of run through questions a little bit later. But the final thing to making all of this work is testing. Remember, failure and learning from mistakes is all part of this. It's required for us to expand and grow. Don't be afraid to try new things out. Look, no one wants to fail, and that's why we test. We should always be testing. You need to weave testing into the fabric of your company setup and use controlled environments to figure out what's working from you. Testing done the right way should mean that you never fail, or at least not fail so much that you're going to lose your job. So that's the last thing that I'm going to sort of say we should be doing. So just to summarize before I sort of hand over to James, because I did cover quite a bit there. First off, as I said, we need to collect enough data because without data, we can't personalize the content. We need to segment because that is very key to helping us to personalize and making sure we've got different pots of data to personalize and make our content more relevant. The 3 stages of personalization, be it basic, intermediate, and advanced, and taking things to the next level and personalizing on different channels. But as I said, always be testing. Don't be afraid to test out new things and see how far we can push the bar to increase the relevancy and boost our ROI. Thank you. Right, so I think I've rambled on for enough now. James, do you want to save me and take over?
Yeah, of course. Perfect. Let me share my screen quickly.
Okay.
Just a sec. Cool. Can you see that? Perfect. So thanks, Gav, for that. My name's James, and I actually work as a sales consultant here at Fresh Relevance. So now that Gavin's actually run through some of the quick wins for email personalization, I'm going to take a little more of a deeper dive into kind of how we can create more personalized emails at scale as well. So a quick bit of background first. Fresh Relevance actually helps e-commerce brands pull all of their customer data into one place. So unlocks insights about shoppers' purchasing patterns and then delivers relevant personalized content across all channels available to customers, including the likes of web and email and social media as well. And as you can see in this little vanity slide here, the platform is used internationally by e-commerce brands and email marketers across a number of industries, including retail and travel, but also things like media as well. But first, some of you might be asking why Fresh Relevance is an authority on this topic, why you're all actually taking the time to listen to me today. So to answer this, I think it's really important to start with the reason we exist in relation to the topic of the day, which is, of course, scaling your email personalization. Now, the average office worker, we've actually found, has 651 unread emails in their inbox. So as you all know, that's a lot of noise to cut through at all times. And on top of this, unfortunately, today's consumers expect a personalized one-to-one experience. And in a crowded digital landscape where your competitors are a mere mouse click away, first name personalization in your email marketing alone just isn't going to cut it anymore, unfortunately. So keeping up with the savvy modern day consumer can be a struggle, to say the least. But with the bar for online customer experience rising each year, marketers are facing new levels of expectation from their customers as well. So how can marketers ensure their email campaigns are relevant for each individual customer, depending on their most recent browsing session, for example? Now, personally, I find pictures are much better at telling a story. So these next 10 minutes, we'll actually run through some visual examples. Theory is all good, but who's actually executing that theory well in the real world at the moment? So to start off, we're going to have a look at how different companies and different businesses are using dynamic content in images. So more specifically, actually delighting customers with dynamic email content that's always up to date. So with dynamic content, you can automatically generate a compelling creative that is unique and relevant to a consumer the moment they interact with your marketing. So by adapting emails to each shopper's behavior or context and preferences, you can actually personalize the entire email experience. It's really easy to scale as well. Email personalization with dynamic content actually enables you to do all the hard work for you. So you can simply add a dynamic content window into any of your email campaigns and it will render depending on who opens it and also when they open it as well. So we've got an example from Killstar here. So Killstar knows that one size fits all emails are now a thing of the past. They actually use real-time banners, which change depending on which customer opens that email. As you can see here, you can simply see how the top banner would look for a female consumer versus a male one. And on top of this, once a customer has actually browsed a handful of different products on the website, they can also recommend really relevant products related to the customer's most recent browsing session as well. And this allows Killstar to keep new shoppers engaged despite not having any historical purchase data on them, for example. So it's a great technique to use. Now, a lot of you may have e-commerce stores, but also you might have some physical stores as well. And we want you to be able to connect your clicks with bricks and encourage shoppers to visit the store closest to them by displaying the likes of store details you can see here, but also things like maps and opening hours, which are relevant to them depending on their location. But also if the nearest store is maybe too far away, you can actually set a rule to direct the customer to your website instead. So let's make sure that you're not wasting precious marketing real estate by displaying a product, an event, or a job that's too far away from the customer. Simply filter out your content recommendations so the individual will only see products that are available near them and likely meet their interest based on their past purchases and browsers as well. I can think of a client off the top of my head would be Pavers. They're a retailer that actually sells shoes online, but also in store as well. And they actually use location-based personalization in emails to show different products in store availability as well. And this data can then be used to fuel product recommendations on the website, but also in email as well, and making sure that we're never showing out of stock items, a little bit like Gav mentioned earlier from Foot Asylum. So ViaVet is another example which I wanted to have a look at, and they actually use category-based recommendations in the personal picks section of the template, as you can see here. So with our intuitive drag and drop interface within the Fresh Relevance platform, you can actually customize not only the messaging that the individual or customer segment sees, but also the type of content that they can see in the first place. So a different piece of dynamic content can be shown depending on a shopper's stage in the buying journey, for example, their preferences, location, weather forecast, time of day, or even a combination of all of these things as well. It's completely up to you, and it's completely limitless as well. So now I've had a little look at dynamic content and images. I wanted to drop into product recommendations. Now, offering product recommendations is a tactic as old as retail itself, but they can actually be utilized as a key way to provide personalized and highly relevant messaging to your customers as well. Now, dynamic recommendations in email, we found can actually lead up to 30% increase in sales conversion rates, and as well as a 35% increase in click-through rates as well. Again, a client that comes to mind is FFX, and FFX sell thousands and thousands of tools and different variations of them online, and they're actually able to increase their click to open rates from 3% to just over 5%, I believe, through integrating Fresh Relevance and Digital, and by helping customers find the products they need through dynamic recommendations in email, which is a great example. Now, Time Out is known worldwide, and I'm sure you guys have heard of them before. They actually sell time-limited offers for nights out and fun things to do in over 100 cities around the world as well. And they're using recommendations in a really clever way. And their recommendations actually render when the customer opens their email. So no one will be disappointed with an offer that has expired or they couldn't redeem, for example. And just looking here, the recommendations are personalized based on the area that recipient lives in, alongside what they've actually bought or engaged with before as well. And as a result of this, you can see just here that their product recommendations in their email alone now make up 17% of their total e-commerce revenue, which is a huge, huge number. Now, this is another example I really like, actually. This is one by the Diamond Store. And I think what Diamond Store have recognized is that higher priced jewelry like theirs is not often a very spontaneous purchase. So by implementing product recommendations, as you can see just here, within their browse abandonment strategy, they can actually guide customers to other products they may like based on what they have already browsed. So although this is quite a simple technique, it's very effective and very in line with their company mission, which is luxury with confidence as well, and helping that consumer find exactly what they want. So the final kind of main thing we're going to look at is triggered emails. Now, these are a really proven way to increase conversion rates with both timely and relevant messages based on customer behavior. Now, you can actually build a comprehensive strategy with these, more than just cart abandonment. And this spans the whole customer life cycle, all the way from re-engaging to reconverting website visitors, but also to things like post-purchase content as well, which is great to send people after they bought an item on your website, or maybe to get some feedback from them as well. Now, I'm sure most of you know, and let's face it, most of you probably have them set up, but if you don't, you're definitely missing out. They're on average actually see 57% of customers abandon carts for some sites, and this can actually be a lot higher. So it's really important you benchmark your current email marketing, so these can provide you with some really powerful performance indicators as well as that. Now, jumping into another example again, I wanted to have a look at Markwins Beauty. Now, Markwins Beauty brands are the largest independent cosmetics company in the US. Some of their brands include the likes of Lorac and Black Radiance and Physicians Formula, to name a few. And what I really like about this cart abandonment email is that I received it just moments after abandoning a product on their website. And frequency is so important as well with cart abandonment. You have a really small window of opportunity to get a customer back to the website. So it's really important that you make the most of it at that moment of time. But it's also really important as well to maximize click-through opportunities. The buttons in this example, you can just see here, really help to decrease the likes of fat finger syndrome, for example. And let's be honest, we've all been in a situation where we've clicked on something that we didn't mean to and got frustrated. So simple things like this can really make a big difference as well. Now, a slightly different example. This is an example from Flashpack, and Flashpack actually offer boutique group adventures for solo travelers in their 30s and 40s who really want to get under the skin of a place via local and unique experiences. And as you can see in this example here, the browse abandonment email offers a get inspired section just there. And the travel companies in general are in quite a unique position in that they have an abundance of data at their disposal. So they can actually use data sources such as destinations people like to visit, different dates when people like to go on holiday, budgets and products browsed. And this really empowers companies such as Flashpack to build a robust and highly relevant triggered emails to increase sales uplift as well. Now, to recap what we've just spoken about, because I know I've spoken very quickly there and spoken about quite a lot, we want to focus on implementing a customer data infrastructure that enables personalization within an amazing marketing stack as well. Then we want to use this email personalization to increase convenience, shorter customer journeys, convey an understanding and a respect for the customer, but also to enable a choice which they're happy with as well. So if you've got any questions, there's going to be a quick Q&A, as Gavin just mentioned, right at the end. But if you can't stay, feel free to just contact me on these details whenever you'd like. And one final thing, I just wanted to remind you guys to get a copy of our latest shopping report on the new normal and what it will look like for Black Friday and Christmas this year as well. Some really relevant content in there and some great examples again. Perfect. And thank you guys for listening. We'll go over some questions now in just a sec.
Excellent. Come back. I want to get a look at that report as well, if I can.
Yeah, no, got some good stuff in it.
I love myself. Right, so we'll go through the Q&A now. So we've got a couple of questions already. We'll go for the first one. I think this one, I'll be polite and send it over to you first, James. We already segment our newsletters based on our customer demographics. So what would be the benefit of dynamic content?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the main things with customer segmentation is there's a lot of back-end work that needs to be done and a lot of work from the marketer themselves to go in and pick different customer segments. And what dynamic content actually enables you to do is it does all that work for you. So the content within an email would actually change depending on what somebody is looking at and what they've looked at in their most recent browsing session. Mm-hmm. And even if a customer was to open that email, for example, 2 months after it was sent, it would actually render and show content relevant to their most recent browsing session. So it always stops content from being out of date, for example. And that's one of the big powers of it, as well as saving marketers time as well.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing, is saving marketers time. That is one of the sort of queries or problems that people have in terms of their marketing. It's that we have a small team and, I haven't got the time to do these bits and pieces. And it's as I said, automation, setting these things up or going through your data and making sure you've got the right data set. Some of these things are going to take some time initially. But once you've set them up, it will save you a lot of time, and dynamic content is one of those things to kind of save some time across the board. So I think that's great. We've got here not a question but a request. It says the link for the report disappeared too quickly.
Yeah, of course. I'll drop it.
I don't know if you could share it in the chat.
Yeah, I'll drop it in the chat now. Yeah, no problem.
There you go. Right, so we've got one here which is, at what point does personalization become creepy? Which is fair, because I think we're in an age now where we've got so much data. It can get to a point where things can get a bit creepy. And I guess it comes down to how you word things and how you use that sort of personalization. You'll have a good idea of when you'll sort of cross that sort of moral line and become a little bit more creepy. But I think it is how you word things, because if you can say something like on an abandoned cart email, for example, we know what you've been looking at. And we know you want this. Well, that's just creepy. Whereas if you can say something, I've seen some examples from brands before that haven't necessarily said, we know what you're looking at. They take it in stages. They've said things like, you've left some stuff in your basket. Can we help you with that? And then maybe the next email they receive is actually saying, well, here's the things you left behind. Here are some recommendations. That's personalized content, but it's not creepy. I think it gets creepy when we can say things like, we know how long you've been on this page for, or how many times you've been looking at this product. That becomes a little bit more creepy. But I think it's a way of wording things. And if you don't have someone specifically to work on a copy in your campaigns, I think that's definitely something you should be be looking into, because it does help to fuse the tech that we have and the data with some wording that is a little bit less offensive. I don't know if you think anything on that, but
No, no, I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that. It's all about displaying content which is helpful, rather than content which may be creepy. So no, I completely appreciate that, as well.
yeah.
So,
I think that helpful line is a good one to sort of stand on as well, because a lot of recipients will see all of a number of the campaigns we sent out as marketing, and although we work in marketing, for them marketing isn't great. They kind of see marketing as just a bit of noise in their inbox, whereas when something's helpful, they're more accepting of it. So that's a good point. Right, another question. What's the difference between cart abandonment and browse abandonment, and what are the benefits? I'll throw it
yeah,
over to you.
I'm happy to go and answer that. I mean, one of the biggest differences is browse abandonment. When you can set up browse abandonment, you don't actually need somebody to put a product or a package, for example, in their cart, in order to trigger off an email to them. And this is hugely beneficial, definitely for the likes of luxury brands or products which have kind of a bit of a longer buying life cycle. So what browse abandonment allows you to do is see when somebody's spending a lot of time looking at a certain product, for example, or maybe reading the descriptions or spending a lot of time on a product page, and then abandoning the page. Now, instead of sending them a different email or an email, just a standard newsletter, we can actually send them relevant information about that product in particular,
Sure.
which might help them with that purchase decision. But they're also really good because of the fact that they're not too pushy, and they're not saying come back and buy this product. We're giving them a bit more information around that product, for example, which may help them in the long run to want to come back and purchase from us, and again can also help to differentiate yourself from a competitor as well.
Yeah, I think that's good stuff, and that's something that will find its own feet, especially around this time of year,
Mm.
when people are sort of going onto different websites and maybe comparing and contrasting pricing and whatnot. I think that's a tool that we can have to kind of combat that, and let people know that there are other benefits to purchasing from us in particular. So I think that's really cool, as well as a sort of abandonment pop-ups as well. As someone scrolls to the edge of the screen to sort of close the window, just popping up something there. So that's sort of in and around the same sort of thing. And I
Yeah.
think all of those things kind of come together, and it can give you a better chance of converting that individual. Because as you said, we know what sort of things they've been looking at on site, and most of the time how long they've been looking. So maybe they just need a little push over the line to sort of help them to convert. So that's a great way of personalizing content further down the line. We've got what are the pitfalls of personalizing and segmenting? I think I kind of touched on this before. It does come into the realms of whether or not you're being a little bit creepy with your content. But that's I guess that's something. If you segment too much, in some cases, then you might be sort of limiting the amount of people that you're sending to, and there might be people that fall through the gap. So here's something that I don't always say all the time, but that sort of spray and pray approach, batch and blast, sending to everyone. In some cases, it does actually sort of help you. At least you hit everyone. But here's how you do that smarter. You personalize the content, and kind of, as James was sort of saying to that question earlier, use things like dynamic content, because then if you at least you're sending to everyone, you're catching everyone in your database. At least then you can make sure that that they're getting the most relevant content. So sometimes batch and blast is useful. I wouldn't say it's a tactic to use all the time, but if you are going to use it, be smarter with it and do personalize your content. So I don't know if we have any more questions. So far, that's all we have. But I guess I'd say use more and more of this personalization, especially moving into this time of year, because that is what's going to set you apart from your competitors. Is there there's got a question here. Is there a sweet spot for the ratio of personalization on your email? You mentioned content managed windows. In terms of the ratio, I'll answer this one with a slight bit of a cop out, and it was my fourth and final point, which is testing. I mean, every time I do sessions with clients about their data or automation, whatever, one of the key things that we need to do is test it. I could say that the ratio is you should have 5 pieces of personalized content in there, or your personalized content should be at the top of the page as opposed to the middle or bottom of the page. I could say all these things, but ultimately we need to be testing things out. There are going to be some things that work for some businesses and some that work for others. I think it's more of a case of setting up a sort of a testing matrix to understand exactly what's working for you, or for a specific set of your database. Don't forget, different parts of your database are going to need different types of personalization, which is why I mentioned using RFM modeling. Because if we know someone hasn't purchased recently or hasn't been spending recently, then they're going to need a slightly different approach, in which case a slightly different personalization. So I think I kind of answer that one in a backhanded way. We just need to do some testing and analyze the data that we have in front of us in order to set up the best set of personalization. But I don't know if you've got anything to add on that one, James.
No, I think I completely agree with what you've just said there, and I also think it depends on the type of business that you run as well. I think personalization in some aspects for luxury brands and maybe brands like that, higher price products brands as well. Personalization in more email campaigns can be much more important for when you're selling a wide range of products, for example. But it all depends again on what you guys are doing and how much you're testing as well. It's completely different on a company to company basis, I believe.
We've got another question here. I don't know how much more time we've got for questions, but we've got another question here, which is there evidence to suggest user journeys help increase conversion rates based on length or specificity? I would say definitely yes, but do you want to answer this one first, James, or do you want me to jump into it?
No, you crack on with that one, and I'll just have a quick look here.
Okay. Yes, the evidence is there. It's all about, as we've been talking about, personalizing the journey and making sure that we have the most relevant content for that individual. So what I usually talk to my clients about is understanding what the user journey is, or at least what you want the user journey to be. Within that user journey, you can start to look at different branches off that, and we use sort of yes or no technology, I guess, if you want to make it very simple, just to say if someone fits the bill for this, then they go down one route. If they don't, they go down another. And what we're doing there is building out more personalized content for that individual, whether we have recommendations in there or more content sort of geared up for that person at that particular part of their journey. And then we sort of usher them down a route. Using that rather than just sending out sort of blanket messaging to everyone is going to be more relevant to people, and more relevancy is what leads to more ROI. So that sort of user journey is imperative to any business, and that's across the board, whether it's B2B or B2C. With B2B, we might have slightly longer sales times, in which case we want to set up a more intricate journey. With B2C, we might use more tools like product recommendations and things like that in order to usher people down the route. But definitely, the conversion rates are improved by using customer journeys and automation of that process.
And I was just saying, to add a point on top of that as well, and within a lot of platforms, again, as Gavin was saying earlier, you can actually test this, and with things like length of campaigns, you can actually test which length of campaigns have a different conversion rate. But you can also look at testing personalized content versus non-personalized generic content as well. And within the Fresh Relevance platform, I know for a fact that you can actually see the actual uplift that personalized content would be getting you compared to if you were just going to put general content in there as well. So all of this stuff again relates back to testing, but it's completely different for different companies. But yeah, by all means, there's definitely going to be evidence behind that if you look within the reporting tools as well.
Yeah. It's. I know that it was almost like a throwaway point at the end that I had about testing, but it really is the sort of bedrock for all of this. There's two parts to any sort of strategy, and that is to having the right data and then testing bits and pieces out. Only continual testing will give you the results that you need. We can't just as I tell my clients all the time, we can't just set and forget. If you do that, then you're not going to have those sort of incremental benefits that we want to be seeing from doing this stuff. So that's exactly what we need to be looking at.
I think that's all the questions.
Yeah, I think that is all the questions. Cool. Okie dokie. Well, I guess thanks for joining us. Oh, we got something popped up in my ear there. What's that? Oh, it's cheers, gents. Thanks, Ben. I think that's sort of all the time we've got. Thanks for listening, guys. Please check out the report that James sent across. I'll be checking it out myself, and hopefully catch up with you guys soon.
Amazing. Cheers, Gav. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Cheers. See ya.
Cheers.